So welcome to part 4 of this tutorial, and before we move on to add the details, I'm not entirely happy with one portion of this model, and maybe I can show you how to fix some of these issues if you face them in the future. One is this seam that you can see here. If I isolate this, let me hide some of the objects. So let me isolate this here. This seam is not desired. This happened because the profile has been placed here for the sweep, so I want to edit that, fix that. That's the first one. Second thing that I want to fix is the transition between this portion and the cup. You can see there's a very small gap, and when we end up creating a Boolean union of these two, this edge will become a problem. And the last one is I just want to increase the thickness of this shelling, because 0.05 is not enough to add two big rounds on both edges here. And the last thing is to add a small detail along the handle that we'll do by projecting a curve and then creating a sweep. So let's start with the first small correction, that is, go to the rail sweep, just expand this to find the circle, so you can see that it's placed exactly where the seam is created. So the way to fix this is, first of all, let's try to keep an eye on it here and go to a different view and just use the move tool and move it by about 0.125 inches. It's going to fail because there are some objects that will be broken, but you can see that the seam is now gone. But if I look from the top, the shape has also changed. So if you want to get a more smoother shape, we'll have to increase the size of the circle. So I'm going to double click on it, make it 2.25 and move it by 0.1. And the second thing that I want to fix is the transition between these two surfaces, for which we'll go into the front view, the layers tab, and make sure the curves are on. And the curve in question is this one. So if I double click it, all I need to do is select one of these and make them a cusp, because then the transition will be flat. Or another thing you can do is actually add another point at this location, because in order to get a tangent continuity between surface, you need at least one point along the same axis. So here I've added one point at this location, and if we go and see, there is still some gap, so we'll add one more point along that curve. I will add a point on the other side. So let's do a Boolean union and check whether that has actually solved the problem. Before that, let's solve this issue, which is the broken surface extract. Since the object itself changed, we have to redo the extract, which is very easy in Studio. You just double click on it, go to surfaces, you just reset it, and then select these two and then hit the green check mark, and everything should update. So the issue is now gone. In order to check whether we've actually created a nice seam between these two, let's just do a Boolean union between this and this, and voila, you can see that there is no seam here. And let's just check on the other side, there is no seam. So this helps us create a nice round at the top edge that's flowing all the way around. To increase the offset of this main cup, let's just go to the shelling, which is this one, double click, and let's make the global thickness 0.75. let's remove the custom shelling for now. So let's make 0.1. To add that feature I was talking about, the handle, it is this small split line that you can see, and there's a slight change in the material here. It's a more grippy material compared to this one. So we can just do a visual seam using a very simple projection and sweep. So let's create NURBS curve. And to finish the curve and to close it, you just create the last point and drag it over the first, and it will close it. And now we can use the curve projection, select the curve and then the surface, right click to project. Now to create the actual seam, let's create another circle of about 0.05 inches, and then you can use a simple sweep with the circle as the profile and then the projection as the path, and turn on auto alignment. And then we'll use a subtraction between the main handle and this sweep, and then we can add a couple of rounds here. So let's start by adding a round to this. You can choose 0.05 or whatever is appropriate here, and we can add the same to both edges and hit the green check mark. So next we can start adding the rounds to the main body. So let's start with the round and just select the bottom face, and it'll add the round to all the edges that are common, and I'll change the value to 0.04, and I'm also going to select this face, which will add edges to the rounds to these edges too. Once it's done, hit add edge set, and then we can go to the inside and select the inner surface and the inner slanted surface to add the rounds on all these edges. Hit the green check mark to finish. So we finished adding edges to the inner and the outer parts of this section. Then the top portion can be another round. So let's start by adding a round to this edge here, because that's a bigger round as when compared to the rest. So I have about 0.1. Click on add edge set and then click this edge again. Now I can give a larger round, maybe 0.25 will be good. Okay, and the last thing will be to add rounds to the top. So I'll use the round again and select this edge. I'll change the radius to 0.04 and finish. In this part I'm just adding some more edges to the existing edge set to complete all the selections. So here we are with all the rounds added, and the only thing missing are the rounds for the top and bottom of this handle. So we'll just double click this because there's already a round, and just click add edge set, and for the bottom I'll slightly increase the radius and then click add edge set again, and then add one to the top here and reduce it to about 0.04 and hit the green check mark. So all the rounds have been created and we have a completed model. The next step, we can quickly look at how to render this using some custom environments.